Let's get right to the breaking news. The United States killing the leader of al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri, more than a decade after the raid that took out Osama bin Laden. Let's go to our White House correspondent, MJ Lee. She's working the story for us. MJ, this is really significant and an important moment for the U.S. right now. Tell our viewers what you're learning.
That's right, Wolf. This is about to be a major announcement that we hear directly from President Biden. We expect that President Biden will be addressing the nation at around 7:30 tonight. And a senior administration official had told us that this was a counterterrorism operation of a significant al-Qaeda target. And now we are learning from sources that this target was, in fact, al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri. Now, the senior administration official had importantly also noted that the successful operation did not result in any civilian casualties. Now, of course, keep in mind that this comes about a year after the U.S.'s full withdrawal from Afghanistan, the last military planes leaving Afghanistan in August of last year. So this is going to raise a lot of questions that perhaps the president himself will address about how exactly this operation was conducted, given that there are no U.S. American military presence currently in Afghanistan, and also what the assurances are that we hear potentially from the president himself on this note that there were no civilian casualties. Now, as you know, the president has been isolating because of a rebound case of COVID, and this is a part of the reason why we are going to hear the president deliver his remarks from the Blue Room balcony instead of an indoor setting. There's no question, Wolf, that when we hear the president speak later tonight, he is going to be speaking as the nation's commander-in-chief, a significant operation and a significant announcement coming directly from the president in just a little bit, Wolf.
I can only assume that the president personally had to sign off on this decision to target and kill Ayman al-Zawahiri, the leader of al-Qaeda. Stand by, MJ. I want to get some more from our Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr right now. You're over there with the U.S. military. Barbara, what are you picking up?
Well, Wolf, we have every reason at the moment to believe this was a drone strike, most likely carried out by the CIA, not by the U.S. military. But that being said, why do we believe that is the most likely scenario? Is because the U.S. does not send manned aircraft over Afghanistan because it has no ability to recover pilots or crews if they go down. So this would not have been like the bin Laden operation, most likely. This would not have been special operations forces on the ground. We don't believe that that's what, right now, that is what happened. This operation, most likely drones that had been watching overhead. But it raises a very interesting question. In the bin Laden operation, of course, Navy SEALs went into that compound, killed bin Laden, took photographs. There was proof of death. And so we will have to see if the administration is able to offer the world similar specific proof, if there was anybody on the ground, that Zawahiri is dead. We just simply don't know the answer at this time. $25 million reward on his head. He was, by all accounts, the leader of the al-Qaeda movement after bin Laden was killed. Now, whether he directed specific operations, the U.S. remained plenty worried about him and worried about the resurgence of al-Qaeda, especially in Afghanistan, and very worried that there would be enough resurgence of al-Qaeda, and they still worry in the coming years that al-Qaeda could again regroup, organize itself to be able to carry out some kind of strikes against U.S. interests or even the U.S. homeland. That it continues to be the reason al-Qaeda is a core concern of the U.S. intelligence community, the military, and the entire U.S. government. Any al-Qaeda ability after all these years to strike out again is something they want to make sure they deal with before it would even remotely happen. So now, Zawahiri dead, we need to learn how exactly it happened and where that leaves al-Qaeda now. What is the U.S. intelligence assessment with Zawahiri gone, bin Laden long gone, of the capability of the al-Qaeda organization, how it may be able to regroup leadership now, raise funds, organize, train, equip, and where al-Qaeda may be planning to strike in the future.
Yeah, huge win for the U.S. right now. Ayman al-Zawahiri killed by the United States. Barbara, stay with us. I also want to bring in CNN national security analyst Peter Bergen. He's the author of The Rise and Fall of Osama bin Laden. He knows this subject really, really well. Also joining us, CNN military analyst, retired Lieutenant General Mark Hertling, and CNN national security correspondent Kylie Atwood is with us as well. General Hertling, how significant is this strike killing the al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri?
This is a target that the U.S. has been going after for over almost 3 decades, Wolf. This even goes before the 9/11 strikes. Zawahiri leads an al-Qaeda that has various networks around the globe with an uneven centralized control. Affiliates like Hurriyat ad-Din in Syria, al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and Yemen, Ansar al-Islam in the African Sahel, al-Shabaab in Somalia. So you're talking about an individual who is the CEO of this organization. You can debate how powerful he is compared to bin Laden, but it's a big deal. The other thing I'd bring up too is, Barbara mentioned that this was more than likely a drone strike. That I would give that probably a 70% possibility, but I wouldn't rule out a man strike against this individual either. What you're talking about is the kinds of things we talked about when we withdrew from Afghanistan. This would be an over-the-horizon strike with very little capability for collecting intelligence within Afghanistan. This was a significant hit by both the intelligence community and anyone who pulled off this operation.
Yeah, the U.S. has been trying to find this guy, capture him or kill him for so many years. Peter Bergen, Ayman al-Zawahiri took over as the leader of al-Qaeda after the killing of bin Laden. As someone who's covered al-Qaeda extensively, and you have, what can you tell us about Ayman al-Zawahiri and how big a loss this is for the terror group?
Well, I would say Ayman al-Zawahiri, he was in his early 70s when he was killed. He comes from an upper middle class Egyptian family. He's a surgeon, he's a physician, he's a smart guy. He was not, however, a charismatic leader in the mold of bin Laden. And I don't think he ever really resuscitated al-Qaeda when he took it over back when bin Laden was killed on May 1st, 2011. He didn't prove to be a very competent leader of al-Qaeda. But the reason I think that he was killed in Afghanistan over the weekend was he was beginning to take a lot more risks. According to the United Nations, he'd released kind of an unprecedented number of videos. Every time you record a video, there's the chain of custody of that video, getting it out there, somebody maybe taking the video. So he was becoming more prominent. And I think it seems to me that may well have been the reason that he was detected.
General Hertling, a Taliban spokesperson, has just tweeted, and I'm quoting now, that an airstrike was carried out on a residential house in Kabul city on July 31st. And once again, I'm quoting, initial findings determined that the strike was carried out by an American drone. That's the tweet. What do you make of those details?
Well, I don't think we should be taking any intelligence from anybody within the Taliban right now, Wolf. That's certainly something that they're going to talk about, the potential for civilian casualties, for damage to a neighborhood. So, again, I think we really need to listen to what the president says today and the kind of intelligence we have and how confident the U.S. is on the success of this strike. I think we're going to get a lot tonight at 7:30 from President Biden.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're going to get a lot of details on how this was all carried out. The U.S. has been trying to do this for so many years. Kylie, this comes after the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, nearly a year or so ago, changing the counterterrorism landscape. That presents new challenges for the U.S. right now, doesn't it?
Incredibly new challenges, Wolf. And I think those at the State Department, those within the Biden administration who said after that withdrawal that the Biden administration would still work on counterterrorism operations in Afghanistan are probably feeling pretty good right now. Because, as you said, according to that Taliban spokesperson, this was a drone strike that was carried out yesterday in Kabul, which is hugely significant. Of course, we need to wait to hear the details about how this was carried out from the president tonight. But if the United States was able to work with the Taliban on this, yet to be seen if that was actually the case, then that would be significant. And there have been concerns about how the Biden administration, how the U.S. could continue any sort of legitimate counterterrorism operations in the country without having a U.S. military footprint on the ground there.